on my face. Oh my God, Sean, you'd get girlfriends so much easier if you would get rid of that. Facial hair is gross. I know. All right. So, apparently there's a gym. There's a female TikToker who is known in the area to just go around and troll people. She goes to gyms and she tries to set down her mat and catch dudes that are staring at her. Now, we saw the one where that lady was doing the impressive gym stuff. Let me tell you something. If you're going to do something impressive, you are doing it to get looked at. If you do something that is impressive in public, you are doing it for attention. Okay? If I can do a fucking handstand, oh hell yes, I'd be showing that shit off. Like, man, check this out. Not only can I do a handstand, but I can scissors my legs both ways. See what it did there? Somebody does that in front of me, all right? You've seen this. You've seen people at the Olympics watching people do all these fancy back handsprings and all sorts of, but they're in motion. When you got somebody who's got the ability and has obviously practiced and honed this ability, what are the chances that lady was honing that ability only at the gym? Right? Let's talk about the guys who can do this, okay? If a guy can do this, women are allowed to catcall him while he's doing it. Yeah, I have seen people do things similar. They do that because they want to be impressive. When you're doing it in public, it's much like prayer. See, this is the thing with Tebow, with the Broncos. Why did I totally back up that black guy calling? Why did I back him up? But I don't back up Tim. Because your relationship with your whatever is between you and your whatever. When you do it like that, it's a show. It is literally a show for others. When you dress up in your cosplay outfit, that's what you're doing when you dress up as a sexy schoolgirl. And you go to the bar, you are doing a cosplay thing. You are doing the same thing as that guy who dresses up as Voltron. You're doing the same thing as that lady who's got the TikTok who has the, the Mandalorian armor in all pink. And she goes to the shows like that. Yeah, she wants to go to get looked at, but she's also doing it appropriately. She's not going there in that outfit and getting angry at people for looking at her Mandalorian outfit. By the way, she does other cosplay things too. Some of them where she shows her face and has it in a ponytail, but this is what she enjoys. Yeah, that is totally okay. Now, what's this big old thing that I'm making about this group of fellers? Okay. So this group of fellers, this lady had gone through and been trying to troll at the gyms, and basically she'd gotten the cops called on her a few times. Yeah, she was going around to various gyms, and this is what she was trying to do. She was trying to turn on her camera, sit in sexually suggestive poses, and hold her camera until a guy walked somewhere near her, which is usually the guys at the gym were staying as far away as they could. But they'd go and look at her, and apparently, wouldn't you know it, there's a clock on the wall very close to her. Well, in between the line of sight where men were and where the clock was. And obviously, this is a gym clock. This is a working gym. This is a. You would have to see the video, I guess. But the point is that the clock is there. There's a lot of stuff over there. There's TVs over there. But the thing that they're looking at, when you look at where their eyes are, they're looking not at her. They're looking just a little bit that direction, and she is on this side. And what it is when they show it in the gym is it's a little bit this direction. It's a clock. These guys aren't even looking at the sports stuff. They're looking at the clock. Now, there's men who sit at the weight machines, and you can see them. They're sitting there, and when they're at the weight machines, they glance over at the clock, and they also are looking at these events that are going on the TV. I believe they were saying it was sporting events, but it looked to me like it was rugby, which leads me to believe it was in Australia. But, I mean, she just being creepy. Now, she'd been kicked out of other gyms before because this is what she tries to do. And they tell her, hey, you know what? If you're going to come in here and record you, that's fine. Kind of like, when I'm in McDonald's and places like that. But, that just needs to be you recording you. If there is an issue, that's when you say something. But until then, you don't go walking through trolling for something like that. Now, if people start doing that, then I will do the same back. Not as in trolling for something like that, but like when I go into Starbucks and I see some racist old guys. Yeah, I don't want to listen to that. When I hear those sexist, old, racist assholes over there at the Fred Meyers coming in the morning, they don't like black people, they don't like women, they don't like disabled people, and everybody's a freeloader but them, and 4 of them are former cops. Cool. Way to go. You're going in there hunting with your bias. And then how is she catching these guys? She's literally using her phone to just stare at them. She's not staring directly at them. She's staring at her phone, at herself with those guys in the background. Like she's just literally sitting there. And apparently there's a lot more footage than what she shows. She showed just the parts where men glanced over. And they are just glancing. It's not like they're looking at her and going, oh my God. Now, of course, we have these videos that we get to see all the time of women blatantly staring and gawking at cut, chiseled men. That's specifically what those men are out there doing. They know that they have that chiseled body and that chiseled chest and no shirt on, going through public with the intention of getting looked at. Through and saying, excuse me, that was rude. That is a very sexist comment. I didn't come here to be hit on. No, for a guy, he's expected to smile. He's expected to smile and say thank you and address you professionally and courteously and gentlemanly and we have to. Or we're getting irate with a fan. So, I don't know how well this is recording or if it is at all. I've been noticing that there is some audio issues with it recently. But I do want to make sure that I point out the fact that in these gym settings, you are going to be somebody who is going to be different. You get to see how the guys are dressed there. And of course, a lot of them, when they see women come in, they put a hoodie on. That has become a more common thing. If there's a woman there, put a hoodie on. Men getting approached at the gym is very common. There are a lot of women who go to the gym and try to hit on men. But we do not address this. We're supposed to say, oh, well, that's nice, and let them off nicely. We're supposed to let them down nicely. We're supposed to be a gentleman about it. But Here's the thing. If there's somebody over there and I just sit here like this, holding it, waiting for someone to look my direction, there is a lot of stuff moving. Okay? Right there, that road, it goes around there, and there is traffic moving. People are going to look up. Maybe there's a car that's familiar to them. Maybe they're looking for some place to eat and scoping the area, and they're here with their family. Maybe, who knows, maybe they like birds. There are a lot of seagulls here, and sometimes they do come in. Maybe they like the same stuff that I do, like the clouds that come around here and the mountains that seem to produce clouds. It's like a early morning steam that just burns out of them while it's overcast. So for me, if I was to hold my camera here and wait for somebody to look this direction, or of course, attention getters. You guys have probably seen my car. It's not pretty. It's not good looking. It is fucking tiny. I have half of a pair of roller skates, basically. But on top of my vehicle, let me make sure I pull this with me. On top of my vehicle, I have things, and people are going to look at it. And they're going to kind of squint their eyes and go, that's strange. Or, I wonder what he's using those for. And yeah, a lot of people, when they think, they're going to squint. Now, there's a guy who was holding a medicine ball while that one lady was doing the impossible scissors and the perfect balance. I mean, she looked exquisite, okay? Her form was wonderful. She obviously spent a lot of time doing it. When I say she looked great doing it, I am not talking about her physical form. I am talking about her physical positioning and hold. I have tried doing what she was doing in there, and I can do it, used to be able to do it, for like maybe half a second before I'd topple over. But I also, I did the thing where you arch your back on the ground so that you can use your elbows as a tripod, and that way you can practice with your legs. And then you also put your legs against the wall so you can practice against the wall. Like, I know the routine for doing what she did, and it is a fucking impressive thing to behold. When somebody can do that in front of you, I mean, that's like somebody being able to do a perfect backflip and land in the same spot. It's impressive. If somebody does that out of your peripherals, you go, oh my God. And all you saw it out of was your peripherals, and you have to ask them, did you really do what I think you did? Can't do that with a woman. She might think, hey, this is an impressive thing. Why are men not giving me impressive attention? You get to see how the stuff that's appropriate in a gym, it's definitely not appropriate at a gym, actually, right? It's not appropriate at a gym for someone to go, hey, well done, or for somebody to look in amazement because she's done an amazing feat. It's not like what she's doing is out there bouncing around like this and guys are staring at her chest. This is a, wow, that is fucking impressive. But then, of course, that's a creepy reaction, too, because everybody else is like, all right, we're not allowed to look because we're guys. We just need to focus on anything but the fact that there's a person over there. If we've got 5 guy friends of ours over there, we have to be worried about walking around and talking to those guy friends because somehow, magically, we'll be a pervert if we do that. We're getting too close. There might be a boundary issue. There's one of these women who was screaming at a guy because he was within 5 feet of her. But it's on a gym where they have these big fucking rubber mats on the floor. They're literally big rubber mats. They're like, I want to say they're like 4 inches thick, but that's an exaggeration. They're at least an inch and a half thick, and they just look huge. But they're huge mats, huge. They're massive. They take up the whole space with the machine on it, and you've got plenty of room. And then there's the walkway, and that is the part that you walk on. It's a walkway. It's like if you're walking down a sidewalk or walking or driving down a road, it's a walkway. That's specifically what it is. He's not stepping on your station, and he shouldn't have to step over into a man's station on his rubber mat station. That black mat that all of that station is sitting on, the machine, the bench, it's all on a black mat. It is set up like a road grid system. The linoleum, the part that the mats are sitting on is linoleum. The parts that are in between is linoleum. The only linoleum that you see is the part that the black mat is not sitting on. Anyone who sees it knows what that is. And you can also see it on the floor. Now, here's the thing. What did these guys do? Well, they knew there was a woman who had literally been kicked out of the gym for not the whole feral thing, like that crazy lady. No, this lady was trying to troll and doing the whole, I'm just taking selfies. And she's got to go back through that video and try to that one little part. Mind you, I know I've done this, okay? When it comes to Laura Nelson, when she had that look on her eyes like that, when Graham said I was autistic, when the officer asked if this is just something that I needed someone to talk to, and Graham said yeah, and then he started going into his whole Christian bullshit, Laura's eyes got this fucking big. So when I had to catch that moment, it's only like a couple of frames. So it takes a long time for you to find that. Now, although Laura was staring at the camera or looking at the officer pretty much the entire time, she glances down for like a half a second, just a tiny bit, and does notice that there's a camera there. But yeah, that lady had to go and do that in order to take that picture of a guy staring for like a fraction of a second in that general direction from fucking 30 yards off. And women are allowed to blatantly stare at you, stare you down going through a parking lot if you're not good looking. We've gotten to see these videos where good looking men are... This is fucking hilarious too. You're gonna love this. Alright, so the one where the gym guys decided to troll this lady, she came in and she wanted the gym to herself. So they let her have an entire part of the gym. The moment that she went into a part of the gym, they made it a women's only gym, and they went in over to another part. Then they went in there and there was a bunch of good-looking guys. I don't want to say a bunch. There was like 3 or 4 maybe. And they walked through and they completely ignored her, made sure they didn't look in her direction. They made sure that when they did their workouts, even if they had to do their workout in reverse, they would do that so that they did not have to look in her direction. And she kept on looking at them. She was looking at them like this, but she had to keep on turning around to look at them. Just kept on turning around to look at these guys, and they were good looking. I can admit it. They were good looking. And this is the thing, is that if you just keep on doing stuff like that and playing victim, it's screwed up. For somebody like me, who is the guy that you're fucking with the most, what these gyms are doing is actually fighting for my rights. They also did it right. They made sure it was recorded. They're also being assholes, and the reason that I say that is because I think this should be something that's worldwide. I don't know why it's not being picked up by every network, or why it's not being picked up by even these men's advocacy groups. Well, that's not true. I found it on a men's advocacy YouTube thing just a few minutes before I started this. Now, these guys who were in there, they were good looking, and they were young. And they were... you know, they were dressed for success when it comes to being stared at. When you see the videos of good-looking guys, you even got your own selection. They're all very finely chiseled, like bodybuilders, and they walk through. And she was having problems with keeping her attention going. They made sure that they didn't pay her any attention. All right, we're not going to pay you any attention. And you get to see how that aggravated her very much. And she also went to go and talk to the manager. So it shows the part where she was talking to the manager. And this is because, you know, this is the second time she talked to the manager. Everything that they did was somehow sexist. They were trying to cater to her so that she wouldn't have to feel that any possible glance in her direction meant that she was going to be raped at any possible moment. They did explain it to her that that's what they're catering. They're trying to literally give her half the gym, well, a third of the gym at a time, because it's, you know, 3 different rooms. And they're trying to, all right, well, we're not trying to be sexist. We'll do what it is that you want. They made sure that she was talking about not wanting any old perverts over there. Well, here's the thing. The guy who was running the counter, he got kind of a belly, okay? Not everybody that works at a gym or owns a gym is going to be, you know, perfect. This guy was an older guy. Now, the thing with this is that we've got all of this evidence that women are allowed to en masse stare at a good-looking guy like that. A guy has to be afraid to even notice that you exist, but we're also supposed to protect you, and we get that shoved down our throats. If we don't protect you, we're not real men, and we're not doing what we're supposed to. But if we do protect you, how dare we get involved? We should have minded our own business. So, damned if you do, damned if you don't. When I see anyone, man or woman, doing what it is that that lady was doing in the video with the standing handstand, she had her hands, her palms. I was never able to do that for more than maybe half a second to a second. And if you're doing it against the wall even, you know about having the shakes. Also, you know that if your legs are straight up in the air, it's kind of difficult to keep from having a wobble. She had no wobble. It was perfect. But the part that she focused on, she zoomed into one little tiny part over in the corner. A guy who had a medicine ball. He was obviously fucking impressed. Oh my God, it was impressive. Yes. So we'll get back to this Jim who is getting messed with, right? This lady who's known for trying to do this stuff, and she's been trying to do it in the local area because it became a popular thing. It became a very popular thing for women to get a gym membership so they can do this. You know, I'm a victim too. I'm a victim. I am Spartacus. I'm Spartacus. And you see how a lot of women who don't feel that they're getting enough attention will see a tragedy on the TV and try to mimic it or feign such a thing. And it's much like the cutting. It is a sign of, it's a need for acceptance, apparently. I've been brushing up on my psychology and psychiatry crap. No, I was never intending on being either one of them. I think most of those people are completely fucked in the head, and that's why they got the position. So, what was stage 3? All right, she went up and complained that, you know, it's okay for guys to go about their own thing in the routine. It's just women are afraid of being raped in the locker rooms because of, you know, guys that are staring at them. And not if you're trolling like that. Seriously. I get that pink is a girly color. That's a color that is going to get noticed, all right? It's kind of like a bright orange jumpsuit. Yes, we're going to notice that. Or a yellow umbrella. Yes, we're going to notice that. Or a bright red dress. We're going to notice it. It's a vibrant color. The reason for using vibrant colors is to draw the eye. Yeah, 100% of the time, that's what it's for, because that's what it does. There is a whole psychology to getting looked at, but then there's also a psychology to getting looked at to get male attention or female attention, and then the dressing to troll as if you're being somehow oppressed because someone glanced. We've also gotten to see a lot of these videos about how, a lot of good-looking women end up with not very good-looking men, and people want to know why. And there's the lesbian hate groups who want to say, oh, well, it's because it's a man's world. So stage 3, when this lady, she was not blatantly gawking at them directly, she was blatantly gawking at them through her phone. Blatantly staring at these guys, and of course, she didn't want to post that up either. She did post it up, and then she took it down when people didn't agree with her. So when she took it down, of course, there were already people who had copied it, and already, well, that's what happens when you troll gyms. They'll troll you back. When people are assholes to me, and I record what I do, I know that there's people who are going to be angry and they're going to retaliate. But also, if they decide to actually take a look, they'll actually realize I'm in the right. And there's a big difference between having to do it for my own safety and trolling for somebody to be a jerk. I know that people are going to treat me the way that they are because I record. I already know that there are people who find that offensive. There are people who want to be able to go out into public and do whatever they want and not have it recorded because then there's evidence of it. They don't want people to judge them. They don't want these TikTokers to do what this lady did. What was stage 3? What was stage 3? Stage 3 was when that old guy who owned the place and a few other old guys who go into that place that aren't necessarily the best looking, but are people who are there often specifically to use those things. Some of them because they have physical disabilities. They're there for rehab. Now, it's not a rehab center, it's a fitness center. It's supposed to be co-ed. It's supposed to be for men and women. But of course, when this lady went in there, and the stage 3 of messing with her, it's literally giving her what she wanted. What she wanted in men's gyms was to not have to worry about men raping her, so they removed the men from the room. Stage 2, she wanted it so that, well, it's fine for men to be there, I just don't want them to stare at me rapey. If they don't look your direction, you don't get to pretend that they're rapey. And then, of course, the stage 3 was, if somebody's gonna fucking stare at you blatantly and record you while blatantly staring at you, they're the one who's being fucking creepy. When you're going in there trolling for something like that, that is you being creepy. And stage 3 is they need to ask you to leave. And these old men went in there and they weren't quite sure how to approach it. But these old men, they all went in there and they looked. One of the men, he went to walk into the, it's a wraparound men's shower room, and he went to walk in and he fucking stared at her. You get all these old men coming in there and staring at her. They're not gawking at her like perverts. One of them goes into the bathroom and he comes back out and he's like still pointing the camera back directly at where you go in and out of the restroom. You know, he's looking at her like, why is she filming me going in and out of the restroom? And these old men, they're not going to send the young boys there to be fucking stared at and gawked at by some pervert. They're not going to have those men going into the bathroom and having some lady film them going in and out of the bathroom. So they asked her to leave. How did they fuck with her? They did as she asked. They tried to comply with her demands, and no matter what they had to ultimately do is kick her the fuck out of their goddamn gym for those men's safety. Dog bless America. Although I do want to say that I think it was Australia because I think it was rugby on the TV. Now, here's the thing, is that a lot of these men's sites, I watch them and I listen to them, and I do still hear the misogyny in it, or even excuses that men make. Like, oh, well, the testosterone. No, not the testosterone. I have testosterone. We're taught to think differently. We're taught what is manly and what isn't. We also have different definitions of what is manly and what isn't. We also seem to get a lot of confusion between what's manly and what you want in a partner. Security is one of the very important things with a partner, but how do you differentiate the two? Is that because women don't see the two as different? No. We're all different. We are all different. But when it gets to the point that men, and we have had to do this for a long time, I want you to take a look at, well, you ever hear of Rosewood? I recommend looking that up. The number of missing black people versus the number of bodies of black people, there are a lot of missing people still. That is a very famous place because there was a woman who wanted to play on bias. She got pregnant, had a baby, but a lot of people got killed. Because she wanted to pretend like some people did something they didn't. Because she was afraid of getting in trouble. She was afraid of consequences. Helen of Troy as well. No matter how many people she died, she didn't care how many died. She only cared about her. That's one of the most important things about the story of Helen of Troy. It's, oh, well, now we're blaming women for men's actions. That's what we're told that we're supposed to do and taught that we're supposed to do, and we're horrible men if we don't. Wouldn't we have been horrible men if we'd given her to her husband for him to cut her head off? Yes. That was the punishment for a Spartan woman who did what she did, and she was the king's wife. Spartan women were taught how to fight. They were taught how to use weapons. Spartan women, considered the most beautiful in the world, and we want to paint her as a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman. No, you don't get to live in the Peloponnese and not be dark-skinned. You're gonna have dark skin if you're in the Peloponnese. That's just the way it's gonna be. Even if you have blonde hair and blue eyes, your blonde hair will be bleached by the sun eventually. Your blue eyes are not going to change colors. But the people from that region, they have dark skin, dark hair, dark eyes. There are a lot more people from different places in the world. So there are more Greeks, more Southern Greeks that have blue eyes now than there used to be. But we always assign Helen of Troy to the blonde hair and blue eyes thing, don't we? When Hollywood plays them, it's not usually Greek people who are playing it, is it? It's usually white folks. And then, of course, we get complained about that Cleopatra was an Egyptian queen, so she must have been black. No, she was a Ptolemy, Alexander the Great and all that. They, by the way, there was a lot of them. All of the boys were named Ptolemy in the line of succession, and all of the girls were named Cleopatra. We get a lot of narratives sold at us by ignorant people, and we're just supposed to believe it. If it becomes popular to say it, does that make it true? Remember when it was popular to pretend that black men were all rapists? Remember when it was popular to pretend that all immigrants were rapists? I'm not talking about back in the 1920s. I'm talking about Donald fucking Trump. So yeah, these men did the right thing. When you say that we need to take the recordings out of a place, that we shouldn't be allowed to record for your safety, but we should be allowed to record for your safety. This is a double-edged sword. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Are you not getting that? If you do record, it's not okay, depending on your popularity, depending on your looks. People were highly offended by old people who were in there because they glanced in that direction for like half a second. Not, oh, I'm blatantly staring, 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 I'm blatantly staring. When you walk past somebody, you know what people's eyes notice? Just like the black dot in the grocery store over there. It was a lady who was wearing all black and walking down an aisle full of all sorts of stuff that is brightly colored, specifically for advertising purposes, to draw your eyes to their item as opposed to similar items on the same shelf. So she's a black dot that goes by, or a blur that often your peripherals would be a road sign when you're driving. You see the road sign coming, and it's to be expected. You're doing your curls because you're a manly man. Or because you're trying to get yourself to some sort of decent, usable, working body. That's right. Even in our 70s and 80s, there are men who are still doing physical construction. We even had a former president building houses with Habitats for Humanity for decades. Even after surgeries, even after cancer, even while going through cancer treatment. Yeah. So, when you go to a gym and, well, you're a guy who's trying to work out and you're hoping to be able to work out, and women will unabashedly approach you and talk to you, you're allowed to just go up and walk up to them and talk to them and basically disrupt their routine. If they try to tell you appropriately and nicely, then you just don't get it. So they have to say, hey, I'm doing a workout. I got like 30 more minutes before I got to shower and get back to work. I don't have much time. So could you please leave me alone? And that right there, you hope that that's going to be enough. No means no, right? That's what boys are taught. We're taught that no means no. If a woman is not interested and she says no, that means no. Where it's confusing for us is when we say no and she keeps doing it. That confuses the shit out of us. When we tell a woman no, it doesn't mean no, it means try harder, apparently. If you tell a woman no in the United States of America, that is automatically translated into a challenge within most women's minds. And this is a psychology thing that has been proven. It's stupid. Well, it's psychology, I guess. But yes, it is statistically something that, acceptance and all that. Competition. We pretend only men have competition. What is our competitions mostly over? When we take a look at sports, all right, when we see juggernauts pounding into each other, we've got women's football and we've got men's football, right? But now let's take a look at boxing. Do people do the whole boxing thing because they really care about the lightweight, the featherweight, or the welterweight? No, people want to see the heavy hitters. That's what they want to see. Once in a while, you get a featherweight who's amazing. But people want to know the heavy hitters. They want to know the Mike Tysons, the George Foremans, the Muhammad Alis, the Cassius Clays. Muhammad Ali's. Sugar Ray Leonard. When it comes to competition, yes, people love competition. A lot of people feel that all humans are driven by competition, but some of us are driven to make the world a better place. We want to provide for our families and provide for our friends and provide them with safety. We need to be able to have cameras, and of course the security cameras that were in that place, that was a good thing. The only thing that I was against is the no sound, no audio. The only part that had audio was her videos. Their videos were just the cameras in the gym, and they weren't that great, and most of them were overhead. The overhead is so they can see most of what's going on. If it's down against the ground, it's easy for you to block it with a piece of something or some debris or even your physical body. They do this in some places to basically shield the camera from seeing it when you harm somebody. They do this in jails and prisons too. They try to gum it up. Now that's also now something that is immediately supposed to be taken care of in jails and prisons because it's a common tactic. But that's also why they have cameras on the ceilings instead of on the floors. If it was on the floor, then we would have to complain that it's trying to look up girls' skirts. If we have it on the ceiling, we get told that it's trying to look down girls' blouses. Guys don't generally have this problem because they generally don't wear skirts. That's not to say that somebody won't be celebrating St. Patrick's Day or Scottish Wool Day or who knows, and go into a McDonald's and be wearing a kilt and possibly no panties underneath. If a guy does that, is it any more inappropriate to have that camera on the floor? How about if a guy is ripped and chiseled and he's wearing a V-neck? Men are held hostage in this country. And that's a horrible thing. It's also, if this gym is in Australia, I've been watching a lot of stuff from Australia and New Zealand and Great Britain, UK, where a lot of people are getting sick of this. We've also got a lot of stuff in India where there's women in India who are literally paying fortunes to try to prevent men in their country who are not attractive from being beaten to death because they look rapey. In India, we were taught that women in India are so oppressed that they're not allowed to go out in public and they're property of their fathers, and they're not allowed to own property and a lot of other stuff. Turns out women are allowed to own property, they're allowed to own businesses, they're allowed to own a lot of things. Also, it also tells us there's enough of a problem in India with women who have learned that they can use that as a, well, I'm not the bad guy. Obviously, the man is the bad guy, and men getting killed there for it. Here, we do the same thing. We just kill them in a different way. We kill them in a very expensive way. We slowly torture them to death through isolation in the prisons. We're not allowed to ask a woman to stop or tell her no. And when it gets to the point where we have to get aggressive about saying no, we have to tiptoe about doing that too, because we're going to get talked over. We're just going to get talked over by law enforcement. Our friends and family are going to try to talk to us like it's our fault or like we're stupid. So these guys in Australia that did that, I'm assuming it's Australia. I'd like to toot our horn in America for standing up for ourselves, but even Chloe Roma, she's the only one that doesn't have a thick accent out of all the English ones. She's the only one that doesn't have a thick Australian accent or a thick British accent or a thick New Zealand accent. But even she is Canadian, because here in America, you can't do that as a woman. Are there any women's rights advocates here in America that are women? Like, Chloe Roma from Canada. She sounds American, and she does talk about America and reference America because she also, recognizes that America is far worse about this than Canada is. And even Canada is horrible. We like to talk about how horrible America is. And by saying America, people are referring to the United States. Most commonly, they mean the United States. When people say America, they say Americans and Canadians. But then you get to see with a lot of the churches, even up through to the 1920s and 1930s, these church schools run in Canada were still engaged in the wholesale slaughter of native populations there, but we make it an American thing. We take a lot of blame for a lot of other people, and we are trying to be way too super woke. When it gets to the point where we are expected to have a relationship with someone that we are not attracted to simply because they had a sex change, or simply because we're superficial if we don't want a fat woman. Now it's getting to the point where we're almost court-ordered. I'd say almost court-ordered because once it becomes a popular thing like it has now, we're not helping a population. We are catering to the narcissists within that population, the predators and con artists within that population who are going to take advantage of things if we don't sew them shut properly. A lot of people talk about all the holes in the system that allow predators to get away. I know. People do that shit to me a lot, and they keep getting away, and I know why, and you know why, and we're not standing together. Meanwhile, I've got the recordings that prove it. I can also prove that if they want you, they'll still go get you. Obviously, take a look at Rawlins, Wyoming. Was I willing to go to jail or prison to protect two little girls that weren't mine from an alcoholic who was beating on them? You goddamn right, wholeheartedly. It's not the only time that happened through all this. You goddamn right. Children come first. Not crazy TikTokers who want to pretend that if a man glances their directions, it means that rape is pending. They gave her what she wanted, and then the people that people hate the most in these videos, apparently if you're old, it means that you must be a pervert. Old men are allowed to get lonely, okay? I'm going to tell you that. I've had women who came and sat next to me in coffee shops that they went to almost every day by themselves. Why do you come here? Well, my husband died, and I don't really have any friends. They're all dead. I come here because when I come here, I'm not by myself. A lot of guys seek out camaraderie in social clubs after that. And with a social club, you're allowed to be free about what you're saying a little bit more. We also get to hear how socially acceptable it is that there's so many women that joke about poisoning their husbands or having somebody else kill their husbands. It doesn't sound very jokingly when they say it. And then there's the ones in social situations where women say that, and it's okay. It even gets a chuckle. We get to see on TV how when that guy takes off his shirt and he's got all of that rippling stuff on, well, like Ellen DeGeneres, everybody, woo, cat calls galore. And, you know, when there's a woman who walks out on the stage in her sexy bikini, it's woo! But also, that's not real life, and those people will cheer. If you go out there in a fucking clown suit as Johnny Depp, people are gonna fucking cheer. It's Johnny Depp. Hollywood is not real life. Not every person who has Tourette syndrome or nerve damage so their arm is stuck across their chest is Kaiser Sose or Kevin Spacey. If you don't know who that is, I'm glad you missed the movie. It was kind of dumb, but it's a caper. Not everybody who's got a twitch in their eye is hitting on you. Not every guy who winks at you is trying to touch your nays. Whether you're a male or a female is arbitrary. When it was just one woman who came into their gym, and she was the only one there, they tried to give her the whole thing. But also, if she's alone in that room, there's the, well, now I'm feeling unsafe because I'm alone. I'm not getting any attention. Obviously, nobody's looking at me, and my purpose here was to try to film people that were looking at me. So let's let them know that these people are allowed to be in the same room as me. You don't have to kick them out of the room. And it wasn't like they came and told her. They had let the gym know. There's a woman in the area. She likes to go around to the gyms, and she's trying to catch somebody looking in her direction. So if she comes in, don't look at her. Just make sure that you give her the room to herself so that she is comfortable. This is messing with her because this is what her side of the story was. Well, yeah, they are messing with you. They're giving you what you want. They're literally giving you what you want. Then you wanted to make sure that you basically had an audience. Just in case somebody did something, you can make a big deal out of it and throw a tantrum or even throw things at him. You want an audience there to see you playing victim. Well, they didn't give her an audience. They did go in and do some of their workout. And it's not like all of the guys came in at once and went into just the room she was in. Just some of the people who were planning on using that equipment, and they did. And she was doing the thing a little bit. And do you not see how creepy that is for us? How uncomfortable that is for us? You also get to see how, with me recording, how uncomfortable that makes people a lot of times. But I'm stuck in public. That's the difference. I'm stuck in public because of women like her. This didn't happen to me in a gym. It doesn't have to happen in a gym. We could see them in parking lots as well. Yeah. We also get to see how the standard stuff that we assign to women, how there are video after video after video showing that, well, larger women, women who are not as, women who are weird looking, like you say with us guys. Oh, well, you look creepy. Well, that definition, as we have shown time and again, is applied based on a man's looks. In most cases. Now, when you go to a gym where people are actually actively there for the gym, they're not there to perv on you. You can tell by their build and by their physique that they're literally there working every week. They're working on their physique. They're working on their health. That is specifically what their body shape and type is showing. When you've got older people who are going to gyms, men and women, oftentimes that is because it's part of their physical rehabilitation. When that old man goes there and he sits there and he's not motivated, he might be lonely. That doesn't mean rapey. Your grandma, who's been in a nursing home for 15 years because she can't take care of herself after falling and breaking her hip, she's not insane. She's not delusional. She's still all there. She'd still like to have a conversation. When's the last time you saw her? You just assume that after a year or two, after going into a place like that, she's going to be crazy anyway, like other people's horror stories about their grandmas. Your grandma's going to get lonely and she might end up going to the gym or to the grocery store or to bingo. People are going to notice your movement. When you wear bright clothes, people are going to notice that. When you wear form-fitting clothes and someone glances your direction, if you were wearing sweats, does that mean that they're perving at you too? Because people do look at folks in sweats just as often. There's times where I've seen girls who, not because they were girls, but just because of the amount of weight, I'm going, all right, I couldn't do that. And then they do a squat, and I'm like, holy shit. Kind of like that girl who does the scissors. Holy shit. She's standing on her hands, perfect form and everything. So you get to hear some of my extremist views. I don't actually hold those extremist views. The point is to get you to look at both sides, and we're taught that men are supposed to look at the girl's side. We're having it shoved down our throats since we are old enough to understand the English language, that we're to protect women, we're never to hit them, we're supposed to this, we're supposed to that. This is a man's job, this is a man's duty. We get this shoved down our throats our entire lives that we're supposed to protect you, even if you're a man-hating lesbian. You want to say that a man is misogynistic if you're trying to get into a fight with a man and they say, hey, you know what, I can take care of this. It's actually a more fair way to do it. For a man to defend a woman's honor, for two men to go head to head, instead of her being able to just unleash on him over and over and over and over again. And you want to use the word demasculate. No, it's dehumanize. Don't be fucking sexist about it. It's dehumanizing. You are not a human being enough for the laws about assaults against an individual to matter. It's dehumanizing. We are expected to protect you. And if we do try to protect you, you treat us like we're misogynistic. However, if we let a man grab a hold of your hair and twist you around so you can't punch him in the face anymore, he's already fucking bleeding. Stop fucking hitting him. When he twists you around by your hair and holds you away from him so you can't hit him, at that point, he is not assaulting you, he is restraining you, and he's keeping you at a distance without touching your physical body so you can't pretend he's some pervert trying to grab your parts because he's stopping you from assaulting him. Is this video long enough yet?